So I think we have a pretty good idea of how the liver works. One of the things I kind of touched on when we were talking about our hepatic lobule is that we have bile that's produced in the liver and flows out through the common hepatic duct. Now, bile is composed of two things. One are just bile pigments. Bile pigments are just sort of things that make the color or are not necessarily important for the function of bile. And the other thing that we have are bile salts. Now, this is the most important part. This is what actually helps us emulsify. Remember that term, emulsify, which just means to organize, to eventually absorb our fat. So bile salts help us emulsify fat. They allow us to turn fat into micelles, which can then be absorbed in the ileum. So let's take a step back and get a better idea of how our biliary tree really works. So remember, the liver synthesizes bile, but it doesn't necessarily store it. The bile that's made here actually goes through what's called the common hepatic duct. So this is the common hepatic duct that comes out of the liver. So bile that leaves from the liver after it's produced has to go somewhere to be stored. Where is it stored? Well, one of the first places that it's going to go is this duct right here. And this guy is called the cystic duct. This is the cystic duct. And this is the next place that we see bile flow after the common hepatic duct. The cystic duct will then lead our bile to be stored momentarily in an organ that sort of sits as a blind pouch. This guy is our gallbladder. The gallbladder has one and one purpose only. This is the dude that stores our bile. This is where our bile hangs out until it's time to be released. So when bile just comes into our gallbladder and is just sitting there, what causes it to suddenly decide to leave and go somewhere else? As I'll mention in detail in a separate video, the hormone that causes bile to be released from the gallbladder is called, sort of a mouthful, cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin, which is often abbreviated just CCK. And now this term might be a little crazy, but if you ever heard of the surgical procedure called a cholecystectomy, that's just the removal of the gallbladder. So cholecystokinin will cause our gallbladder to contract. And when the gallbladder contracts, remember, it's a blind pouch. So this is just going to squeeze all the bile